It's been a very memorable and celebratory week, a blessed week in our family. With the help of the Almighty, we were given a tremendous gift. We were blessed with a perfect and healthy baby boy on Thursday afternoon. Thank God, mom is doing phenomenal. Baby is doing phenomenal. We've been incredibly, incredibly blessed. And I'm looking back at last week, and it was such a topsy-turvy week for us because I had the flu for 3 days last week. And it hit me so hard that like on Monday, I legit couldn't get out of bed. Like I couldn't stand. Someone told me that when you get older, the flu hits harder and harder. That's why I get my flu shots, I was told. I couldn't stay. It was so bad. I had to wear my tefillin, but they were in the shul. Keep it there in the shul. So I told my son to go pick it up, and he picked it up, brought it next to my bed, and I was looking at it for like more than an hour. I couldn't just will myself to stand. That's how bad it was. And of course, in the back of my mind, like this could go really bad. My wife's been overdue for more than a week at that point. And I'm in no condition to go to the hospital. We go to the hospital together. They're like, well, who's the patient? That's how bad it was. You know what it's like, no appetite. Just fever and aches and chills and absolute abject misery. What's going to be if we have to go to the hospital? And in the back of my head, I have this niggling thought, well, what's going to be with the Parsha podcast that's scheduled for Tuesday? I have nothing to say. And even if I did have something to say, I wouldn't be able to say it. So Tuesday, thank God, I woke up feeling a little bit better. I woke up 15 times overnight, but in the morning, I was a little bit better, but still absolutely no condition to record. So we postponed the podcast to Wednesday. And in my head, I'm thinking, well, maybe what's going to be if we have to go to the hospital now? How will I ever do a Parsha podcast? Maybe there'll be I have to go to the hospital in middle of the Parsha podcast recording, which I was always secretly hoping for. I got to stop the recording right now, to be continued. That would be a Parsha podcast that no one would ever forget. But thank God, by Wednesday, I was feeling a little bit better, like stable enough. And we were able to record a Parsha podcast on Wednesday and get it out in time. I think it was pretty good given the circumstances. And that night, my mother-in-law came in. She wants to help, to pitch in when the baby comes. And she's sitting in Canada, waiting for some news, waiting for a week and a half already post the due date. And the flights are getting more and more expensive. I'm just coming in on Wednesday. It turns out it was very fortuitous. Wednesday evening, I'm feeling already a little bit better. Thank God, thank you, Almighty God, for healing me. 5 a.m. Thursday morning, we're going to the hospital. Now, I hadn't eaten for 3 days, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. A little bit maybe like on Tuesday. You know what it's like? You come out of the flu and you're famished. You're so hungry. So before I went to sleep on Wednesday night, I took out my Uber Eats and I went to the kosher bagel shop in Houston. I said, deliver us at 7 a.m. a dozen kosher bagels. And like I went to sleep kind of with a fantasy of like, oh, I'm going to get like a nice sesame bagel. And they have the French toast bagel. And like, I'm like, oh, I guess I'm feeling better. I've been healed because I want to eat. And I had that thought going as I'm falling asleep, thinking about that bagel I'm going to bite into. We'll have hot, fresh bagels in the morning. And this will be the sign that I'm out of the flu. 5 a.m., we're off to the hospital. The bagels, they're going to have to wait. It was 72 hours without food. What's a few more hours, right? No problem. I'll make another Uber Eats to the hospital. That's the plan. You know what it's like in the hospital. And if you ever had the great privilege of being in the hospital for such a celebration and for such a wonderful occasion, it could be intense. And the smokers, they have it easy. because they need a cigarette. They have to kind of get out and get a cigarette because it's intense. They need a cigarette. And I don't smoke. But if I'm in such a situation, I feel like I need a cigarette. I need to get it. You know what? I'll have the Uber Eats come and I'll go pick up the food and that'll be my equivalent of the cigarette. So we make another order, come to the hospital. The Uber Eats driver is so confused. He's going around in circles. I'm texting him, Kevin, this is the location, not on Greenbrier, on Old Spanish Trail. He's not exactly a native English speaker. And I'm texting him. I'm downstairs and the streets are a little confusing by the Houston Medical Center. And in the middle of the conversation, I get a notification. Oh, it's been delivered. Kevin made off with my bagels. These bagels have been fantastic. This is like you fantasize, and it just escapes you. It escapes. Maybe I'm just not meant to have any food for the entire week. Now, in the end, we made a second order, which arrived. We're doing great. We're feeling great. Everything's wonderful. And thank God, a healthy baby boy is born around 4 p.m. Baby's great. Mama is great. And back on the home front, my mother-in-law's there, taking care of the kids, picking up the kids, making lunches, making sure everyone has what they need. The older kids are exhibiting supreme competence. The little ones are in good hands. It's nice to know that. Now it's already Thursday. Got to prepare for Shabbos. Moreover, we have a tradition in our community, in our circles, that the Friday night after a baby boy is born, the entire community comes to the home to celebrate. That's known as the Shalom Zachor. Shalom means like peace or welcome, to the Zachor, to the male. So that's going to be a massive party, and it's going to be in about 24 hours. And we would love to get everyone home before Shabbos. You're going to have the entire community swing by. And I was just thinking just how wonderful it is. Like I had the flu for 3 days. Couldn't have gone to the hospital. We snuck a Parsha podcast in. The Almighty enabled me to sneak in a Parsha podcast. And the baby's born exactly when it's no more flu. Parsha podcast is done. And enough time, please God, to get home before Shabbos. We got home, it was 40 minutes before Shabbos. Plenty of time. My mother-in-law and my daughter, they made the whole Shabbos. It was very tasty. We had plenty of food. And they prepared the whole party. Starting at 9 o'clock, we're going to have streams of visitors. And they're going to want, this is a party. You know, I don't drink, but we have a few exceptions on Purim. And if I have the privilege of hosting a Shalom Zachor, we got to make a l'chaim. Everyone comes to want to wish a mazel tov wishes and make a l'chaim. So my sons, they said, we're going to go with our grandma to the liquor store. And they know how to manipulate her. $500 worth of booze they bought. They have this whole array, a panoply of alcohol, tequila, bourbon, enough beer for the entire neighborhood. And some of my friends from New York sent me a very nice bottle of Blanton's. I don't know any of these things. I drink Jack and Coke. A bottle of Casa Noble. That's a tequila. This is going to be a celebration. Chickpeas. That's the traditional food. Chickpeas. Why? We'll hear about it in a little bit. You got to have chickpeas. Friday, neighbors start dropping off cakes and cookies and nuts and junk food. The first guest sauntered in at around 9:20, and the last cohort departed. They will be home Friday night, early Saturday morning, 1:30 a.m. This is an insane party, nonstop action. Place is full, and the singing like you can't imagine, singing to the hearts of the heaven, and words of Torah, and words of blessing, and 3 Torah speeches. 2 other rabbis in the community spoke, and an idea of in it like an address almost. It was an address. It wasn't a speech. It was an address. I had the great privilege of sharing a message with the assembled. And that's what I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to tell you not exactly the same way I told it on Friday night. You see, there were a lot of rabbis in the crowd. So I had to pepper my speech with some Hebrew and some Yiddish and a few choice words in Aramaic. I have to burnish my rabbinic bona fides. But I'm going to tell you all, I think, in English. You tell me if there's any words that you don't know. RabbiWolbe@gmail.com. I started off with some questions related to the upcoming festival of Shavuos. You see, in a couple days, we're going to celebrate the festival of Shavuos. And that's the day that marks the Sinai revelation. The day where the Almighty tore open the heavens and appeared on the mountain, and the nation experienced theophany at Sinai. 10 commandments, prophecy. Every Israelite heard, experienced, and lived to tell the tale. And after that experience, Moshe goes up to heaven. And he's there for 40 days and 40 nights. He doesn't eat, he doesn't drink, he doesn't sleep. He's there to get the details of the Torah. And I quoted what our sages tell us, something absolutely fascinating. Moshe's in heaven, and he's a bit delayed. The nation's expecting him to come down on the 40th day. Turns out he has to come down on the 41st day because he needs to be there for 40 full days, not partial days. They get antsy. They make the golden calf. Moshe's still in heaven getting the Torah and getting the luchos, the tablets that symbolize this eternal covenant. Says the Talmud, when exactly did the nation make the golden calf? What was happening in heaven with Moshe when the nation made the golden calf? Says the Talmud that at the end of the 40 days of instruction, God handed over the tablets to Moshe. And the tablets, they are 6 hands breadths long. And 2 hand breadths were in the hands of God, as it were. And 2 were in the hands of Moshe. And 2 in the middle. This is like the transfer, the handover. And precisely at that moment, the nation made the golden calf. At the highest level of any human achievement, Moshe is not even here. He's in the heavenly realm, and he's receiving the Torah and the tablets, the luchos habris, the tablets of the covenant, at that absolute apex of human achievement, of human greatness, at the apogee of Sinai. That's when the nation hits their low point, their nadir. And then the Talmud describes that God says, whoa, look at these people. They're doing the golden calf. Sorry, I'm taking back the tablets. So God starts pulling the tablets. And Moshe, he starts pulling the tablets in his direction. This is what the Talmud says. There's a tug of war between Moshe and God. And you know who won? Moshe won. And that's why in the final verse of the Torah, when the Torah is eulogizing Moshe, Ulechol hayod hachazaka, and to the entire great, strong arm or strong hand. Moshe had a strong hand, a strong arm. Why? Because he strong-armed the tablets out of God's hand. He wrested the tablets out of God's hands, as it were. That's the very last verse of the Torah. Now, you and I read this Talmud, and we have so many questions. Like there's a tug of war, and Moshe wants it, and God wants to undo it, and Moshe wins? Well, how do we understand what's happening over here? It's a very mysterious, very esoteric and arcane, and obviously a deep secrets being conveyed over here. But the question I asked was a more basic question. Moshe manages to get the tablets out of the hands of God. He wins the tug of war. And he marches down the mountain. And he meets Joshua. And he goes to the camp. And he sees the revelry of the golden calf. And he takes those tablets, the same tablets that he wrested out of God's hands, as it were, and he shatters them. It's just a pile of rocks. Why is Moshe so insistent on getting the tablets? And then right away he smashes them. He obviously agrees with God that the nation is not worthy of these tablets. So he's agreeing with God in principle. So simply leave it where it belongs. Leave it in heaven. What's Moshe's rationale of extracting the tablets, wresting it out of God's control, winning this tug of war, only to subsequently shatter it? Those behaviors cannot be reconciled, or cannot be easily reconciled. On one hand, he's saying, we need it, it's ours, and then he shatters it. No, we don't deserve it. That was the first question. The second question, this whole episode, this whole epilogue of the sign of Revelation, it casts a dark light on the entire event. The festival of Shavuos, it begins this process that we ended up with the tablets. But there was tragedy. There was misfortune. There was a cataclysm, a fiasco, and the tablets were shattered. Yet, we're going to celebrate the day with great celebration, great festivities. Why is it a festive day? It should be a day of mourning. Because ultimately, we made a terrible mistake. We made the golden calf. We lost those tablets. We had the opportunity to have these tablets etched by the finger of God in our midst. And all we were left with was a pile of shards. As they just tell us, even the letters that were etched into the tablets, they sputtered up to heaven. There was nothing left. So why, I asked the assembled, why are we going to celebrate in a few days this festival of the giving of the Torah when we lost it? We lost it. That was the first question. I said, hold that question. Let's get to the topic at hand. We have this incredible custom. The Friday night after a baby boy is born. The Friday night, the entire community gets together at the home of the new baby. And there's lots of food and some drinks, some soft drinks and other types of drinks, and snacks and cakes and cookies. You cannot imagine how much candy there was there. I can't describe you. You'll get a cavity listening to my description of how much candy there was. It's this incredible celebration. And they were there till 1:30. 1:30. I wonder I fell asleep on my couch. And then he woke up and said, I should really go home. I said, no, what? Come on. Go to sleep on the couch. It's comfortable for a reason. It's an incredible celebration. Why do we have this celebration? Why do we have this ubiquitous celebration of this new baby? So all the commentators, all the sources agree that there's something about what happened to this baby that needs to be marked. And all the sources agree that the origin of this custom is the iconic teaching in the Talmud about what happens to a child, what happens to a baby, what happens to a fetus when they're born. The Talmud says that when the child's in utero, he is given tremendous insight. He is taught the entire Torah. But once the baby's born, an angel comes, smacks them on the mouth, and they forget the entire Torah. And this is why we get together and we have the chickpeas. And I told them, when I spoke, I was like, that's garbanzo beans. But in Yiddish, it's called arbus. So I said it's called arbus in Yiddish, but some of you don't know Yiddish, so it's chickpeas. If you know what that is, it's garbanzo beans. And they're circular, they're round. And round foods always symbolize mourning. Mourning with O-U. Mourning and bereavement. When Jacob, when they're mourning for Abraham, he makes lentils. Why? Because they're round. And that's a message for those mourning. Just like a lentil has no mouth, the mourner has no mouth. Just like there's a circle, things go up, things go down. There's a certain cycle of time. That too is a message for the mourner. The child, just a few days ago, was the greatest sage in the entire world. There's nothing he didn't know. He knew the entire Torah. The entire Torah, which means all of Mishnah, all of Scripture, all of Talmud, everything. He would have been, if he was just around, he would be the greatest sage in the land. And now, the poor chap doesn't even know the alphabet. Nothing. Totally ignorant. Completely factory reset. Nothing. That's very sad. And that's something you have to kind of lament and mourn. So we get together and we have a consolation party for the newborn baby. And we eat the chickpeas. And that's the round food to indicate the cyclical nature of life. The baby is experiencing a low point, but brighter times are ahead. That's the idea of this Shalom Zachor. And if you think about it, it's a very beautiful idea. But why is it done on Shabbos? If you told me, well, we have the celebration day at the day the baby's born, the night after the baby's born, it made sense. Baby's born on Sunday. They forget the whole Torah on Sunday. Okay, that night we'll have this consolation party with the chickpeas. Tuesday night, Shalom Zachor. Thursday night, Shalom Zachor, and so on. Why do we wait till Shabbos? Shouldn't we immediately mark the loss of the Torah? That's what's interesting, because halachically, mourning is suspended on Shabbos. Here, we only do the mourning on Shabbos, not during the week. And then I said, I want you to look at this table. We had a 21-foot table we managed to get. And it was laden with all sorts of delicacies. And everyone's singing. And they're happy, and they're joyous, and they're jubilant, and there's words of Torah, and there's camaraderie, and there's singing. This is like a celebration par excellence. Where's the mourning? There's this jubilation. Everyone's so happy. How do we understand what's happening over here? So what I suggested is like this, and there are many different versions of this idea that have been proposed. The child knew the entire Torah. How much Torah did he know? More than anyone else that you know. I said, think of the greatest scholar you know. They know 0.0% of what this child knew. This child knew everything. All of Talmud backwards and forwards. That was just a couple of days ago. And they lost it all. They lost it all. But because they once had it, it was lost, yes, but they once had it. There's something about the Torah that they used to have that remains. There's some vestige of that Torah, some impression of that Torah that is left behind. It's very different. Trying to study Torah from 0 to 1, from knowing nothing, you don't know the alphabet, and going from 0 to 1, there's a very big difference if you already had it versus if you never had it. You had a gift, you lost it completely, but there's something that remains behind. And I shared there's a precedent for this. The Talmud tells us that at Sinai, the nation said something that makes no sense. Do you want the Torah? Are you willing to accept it? Will you sign the line which is dotted? The nation responded with the iconic motto of our people, Na'aseh v'nishma. we will do, and then we will listen. It's the opposite. Normally you want to listen, let me hear, and then I'll commit to doing it. No, they committed blind. Na'aseh v'nishma. When they said that, the Almighty said, wow, this is like a nation of angels. How do they know? How do they know this great secret of Na'aseh v'nishma? And when they said it, the Almighty dispatched 600,000 angels. Each angel was carrying 2 crowns, one for Na'aseh, one for Nishma, one for we will do, and one for we will listen. And they approached all 600,000 Israelites, and they tied these 2 crowns on their heads. One for Na'aseh, and one for Nishma. Continues the Talmud. This is in the very famous teaching of the Talmud, Book of Shabbos, page 88b. Then the nation sinned. They did the golden calf. And then more angels were dispatched. Not angels bearing crowns, but angels taking crowns away. 1.2 million punishing angels descended upon the nation, and each one took away 1 crown. That's what the Talmud tells us. The nation had the crowns, and they lost them. And then we get some postscript. V'kulon zacha Moshe. Moshe acquired all of those crowns. Wow. So Moshe, initially, he had, like everyone else, a crown for Na'aseh, a crown for Nishma. He had 2 crowns. All of the nation's members were bedecked with 2 crowns. Moshe had 2 crowns like everyone else. But then, nation does the sin of the golden calf, and they lose their crowns. But what happens to those crowns? Moshe acquires it. So Moshe ends up with 1.2 million crowns, says the Talmud. Concludes the teaching in the Talmud. In the future, the Almighty will return these crowns to us. And it cites a verse in Isaiah chapter 35, V'simchas olam al rosham, the joy of the world is upon their head. This is a reference to those crowns that we lost. We're going to get them back in the future. And indeed, when the Talmud describes the future world, olam haba, the world to come, it says, in the world to come, there's no eating, there's no drinking, there's no procreation, there's no business or commerce, there's no envy, there is no hatred, there is no competition. So all the attributes that are found in our world are not found. There's no eating, there's no drinking, there's no procreation, there's no business or commerce, there's no envy, there's no hatred, there's no competition. So what is there? Ella, what is there? Tzadikim, the righteous, they are sitting. Ve'atroseim, and their crowns, birosheim, are in their heads. And they're basking in the delight, in the joy of the divine presence. Indeed, the Talmud tells us, we had crowns at Sinai, we achieved this incredible high level, this pinnacle of human achievement. We lost it, but in the future we're going to get it back. Those crowns that were lost will be restored in the world to come. Now the commentaries observe, I was very precise in the words that I used. In the world to come, the nation will be sitting, or the righteous will be sitting, ve'atroseim birosheim, translate, and their crowns are in their heads. In their heads. If I said your crown is in your head, you would say, well, I probably need to go get my head examined. Because the crown goes on your head, upon your head. The commentaries tell us, Ruchaim Volozhiner, the crowns will be in their heads. If something is on your head, it could be taken away. It could be pilfered, snatched, swiped, dislodged, taken away by an angel. But if it's in your head, it's part of you. You can't lose it. It's permanent. If you look at the Talmud, when the Talmud describes, nation said, Na'aseh v'nishma, they got 2 crowns. Talmud's very precise in its words. 600,000 crown-bearing angels. They descended and they tied. It says they tied it. They tied crowns upon their head. If you tie something, you can untie it. The nation got the crowns, but the crowns were not in their head. They were on their head, tied on so it doesn't fall off, but those could be undone. And the nation can lose what they had received. So what do we see? When you have something, it was given to you. If it's given, it could be ungiven. It could be taken away. The nation received the crowns, but they lost them. That's a perfect parallel to what happened to the baby. He got the Torah. How much Torah did he know? More than any person alive. You had an incredible gift, but you lost it. It was taken away. But just like the crowns, we had it. And we lost them. And in the future, we're going to get them back. The Torah you had, we tell the baby. You lost it. You can reclaim it. Now here's the most interesting part. Our Siddur tell us that those crowns that we had, we lost, and we're going to get back, we temporarily receive them back on consignment, as if you will, on loan. We temporarily get them back each Shabbos. And that's why in the morning, Shabbos morning Shacharis prayer, there's a paragraph. It's a very interesting paragraph. Yismach Moshe b'matnas chelko. Moshe will be happy in his portion. Moshe started off with 2 crowns like everyone else. But when the nation loses their crowns, who scoops them all up? Moshe scoops them all up. So Moshe's got 1.2 million crowns. Pretty neat. On Shabbos, we say Moshe's happy with his portion. What does it mean he's happy with his portion? He's happy in his portion because each Shabbos he loses all those extra crowns because every Israelite temporarily gets access back to their crowns. So Moshe's left with just his portion, not all the other portions. So we have this paragraph in the prayer that Moshe's happy. He's happy with his individual portion. Why? Ki eved ne'emon karasalo. Because he's a true servant of God. Klil tiferes, a crown of splendor. Birosho nasata. In his head you have placed. Again, that distinction. In the future, Olam Haba, the crowns will be in our heads. At Sinai, they're only tied to our heads. But Moshe, it was always birosho. It was always in his head. There's a fascinating discovery over here. The nation was given crowns at Sinai. They lost it when they did the golden calf. Moshe scooped them all up. In the future, we're going to get them back permanently. But even in the interim, every Shabbos, every individual gets those 2 crowns back from Moshe just for the day. Why? Because Shabbos is a measure of the world to come. It's an element of the world to come. And if in Olam Haba we get them all back permanently, it's Atroshem, Biroshem, their crowns are in their heads. Shabbos, which is a measure of the world to come, we temporarily get back our crowns. On Shabbos, we have the extra soul. We have elevation. We become more spiritual on Shabbos. And there's a scintilla of the world to come. All those things that we're going to get in the world to come permanently, we get temporarily each Shabbos. Something very special in Shabbos. You recapture what you lost. You had something, you lost it. Some of it remains, and that bubbles to the surface. Each Shabbos, we have that extra soul. We have the taste of the crowns on Shabbos. And I want to speculate. The same thing is true with the other gift. Child in utero, they learn the whole Torah. That's amazing. How much Torah? More than anyone alive. It's an incredible gift. The crown of Torah. And they lose it. But they had it. They had it once before, right? You have something once before. Hopefully you'll have it again in the future. But when you have something, some dimension, some element, some remnant, some vestige of that remains, that gets manifested on Shabbos. What's the consolation? We have the chickpeas. It's consolation. But it's a celebratory consolation. And it's done specifically on the Shabbos. We can't do it on a Monday or on a Thursday. We do it only on the Shabbos. We tell the child, you had the entire Torah, greater sage than anyone alive. That's what you were. And you lost it all. You can't even read the alphabet. But now it's Shabbos. And there's a flicker of that Torah, a measure of that Torah that's restored. You have an extra soul. The crowns that we lost, we have them back for a little bit. That Torah, that elevation, that transformation, that refinement of soul that you had in utero, some of that is now present. Again, you didn't lose it entirely. That indeed is quite comforting. Now, of course, the subtext of the message is that it shouldn't just stay like a Shabbos touch point. It's your job now. It's your mission in life to reacquire, this time to earn it, all that Torah that you knew once. And just as there's a difference in Moshe, when he earned the crowns, it was always in his head. They can never be taken away from Moshe. For us, it was tied to our heads. Okay, so it could be untied and we could get it back, but in the future, it'll be in our heads like Moshe. With Torah, it's the same thing. When someone has Torah given to them, well, if it was given to them, it could be ungiven. If it was taught to them, it could be forgotten. If they work hard to acquire it, it's in their head, not on their head. The candle's not upon their head, like the Talmud says. It's in their head. And therefore, they can never lose it. The Talmud tells us if someone is a great Torah scholar, they must be honored. But what if they say, it's fine, you don't need to honor me? They're willing to forego their honor. Are they entitled to do that? That's an interesting question. Can they say, you know what, that's fine, you can just call me Bob. But you're a great rabbi and a great sage and a great Torah scholar. I think we have to stand up for you when you walk in the room. Nah, it's fine. Call me Bob. What's the halacha? What's the law? The law is that if a great sage is willing to forgive their honor is forgiven. Do you know why? Because they have Torah. But whose Torah is it? When someone acquires Torah, it's theirs. They have agency over that Torah. And they can do whatever they want with it. Just like Moshe, the crown was in his head. It's his. He can make his own choices. With that, I said a blessing to the new baby, there's a comforting message over here. You had the Torah, all of it. You lost it. It's sad, but there's some reason to be cheerful. You have a flicker of what you lost. Some of it you got back over Shabbos. You see it's still there. And now you know your marching orders. Your marching orders are to reacquire it. And then we got back to the tablets. Moshe, he's so insistent on taking the tablets. He wrests it out of God's hands, as it were. And then he takes it and he shatters it. Clearly, he doesn't believe the nation is worthy of having these tablets. There's a very nuanced point over here. Moshe and God both agree that the nation is not deserving of these tablets. So what's the dispute? Why is there a tug of war? The argument is not, should they have it or should they not have it? The argument is, should they not have it at all? That's what God favored. And Moshe favored. No, let them have it and lose it. Because if you have it and lose it, you're forever transformed. Give it to them for a millisecond even and shatter it and then take it away. Because in that case, something remains. Some remnant, some vestiges remain behind. That's what Moshe wanted. And that's why this festival is a celebratory day. I imagine if not for Moshe, if we never even got the tablets, even temporarily, it would have been a sad day. We would have just the disappointment of losing out on that gift. We would have had nothing to show for it. But now we have something. We have a pile of shards. We have the memory of the fact that we once had the tablets. When you have something and you lose it, something remains. And that can surface, that can bubble up on occasion. And therefore, what we're telling the newborn baby tonight is the same thing that all of us are telling ourselves on the festival of Shavuos. We had something great, and we lost it. But we didn't lose it entirely. Something remained behind. And it's our mission to now go claim that as our own, to recapture what was once yours. That was the speech, and I got a lot of positive feedback about it. Before I started, I said, listen, I'm going to be talking for a while. So if you need to go, you need to bounce out of here, you need to, don't just feel very comfortable. Just sidle out. I will not be offended at all. I don't want you to be here if you have to go. I know people have engagement. Some people are like, I'm planning on leaving. Oh no, the guy started speaking. I can't leave. I said, just please, I'll maybe be very happy if you just walk out. I don't want you to be here to be a captive audience. But that was the speech. And afterwards, there was a second cohort, a third cohort, different groups of people were coming. And one of my friends came over and said, well, what do you speak? They all know I like to speak. They know. Like, well, what do you say? So I told him the whole speech, like kind of the Cliff Notes version of it. So he added something very interesting. I want to add it over here. He said that is effectively what the counting of the Omer is. The nation, on the night of the Exodus, we're told, they achieved the 49th level of holiness. They went from minus 49 to plus 49. But then the next day, it got zeroed out. It got zeroed out. And then it took them 49 days, each day to climb up one rung, one level, until they were ready for the festival of Shavuos, which is the 50th day. 50th day after the day after the Exodus. So my grandfather, blessed memory, used to say that both the festival of Pesach and the festival of Shavuos, it's the same day. It's the same day. It's the same level of achievement. The Ramban even writes that the days of the Omer are like the intermediate days, the Chol HaMoed, that bridge together two similar days of a festival. But they're both days where the nation achieved the 49th level. But there's a very big difference between the first 49th and the last 49th. The first 49th is You were given it. The nation, they're experienced the revelation of God at the Exodus, and they're not necessarily deserving of it, but they just have it handed to them. And then it's taken away. But when you have something and it's taken away from you, you have a path now to go reacquire it. My grandfather used to say that there was a guy walking in the forest, completely pitch black, moonless night. And he knows where he needs to go, but he can't see anything. And then there's a bolt of lightning that temporarily provides a flash of light on the entire landscape. And he could see and say, I need to go right over there. And then it's back to being black. But that illumination provides him the roadmap for where you need to go to get to that destination. If you've been there before, even if you're not there now, but you have a path to get back there. That was the nation at Pesach to Shavuos. That's the tablets that we had. We lost them, but we had a path now to get them back. That's the crowns. The crowns, you had them, you lost them, you're going to get them back in the world to come. But every Shabbos, it's a moment of elevation of spirituality, and all those things that we lost, temporarily get them back. Child had all of Torah. Hopefully the child will end up with all of Torah. Will earn it on their own. Shabbos is a day of comfort. A little bit remains behind. I think it's an inspiring lesson for the baby who, if he's like the rest of my kids, probably won't want to listen to my podcasts. But that's okay. That's okay. Maybe eventually they'll start listening. My boys who were there by the Shalom Zachor, they were entranced when I was speaking. So I was told they were entranced. They're like, "Oh, Abba, have you been drinking?" Because I was very animated. I have been drinking. My trick is I take a shot glass. I don't like to drink, but everyone comes and they want to make a l'chaim with the father. So I take a shot glass and I fill them up a shot glass, and I take a shot glass and I take a tiny little sip. I am drinking with them, but I only had like 2 shots the whole night. But it's an inspiring lesson for all of us as well. We had greatness. Please God, we will have greatness. When we had greatness and we lost it, some of it remains. That's the power of Shabbos. It's this flicker. It's this bolt of lightning that shows us who we are, what we can achieve. And that is tremendously comforting to know that we had greatness and we have a path to achieve greatness. Once again, may we all be so fortunate as to achieve greatness in our life. The Almighty expects great things of us. Otherwise, we wouldn't be a human. You wouldn't have all that power, all that ability, all these gifts, if not for the fact that the Almighty believes in you and wants you to accomplish great things. And I hope and I pray that our newborn baby boy grows up and becomes a wonderful Jew, a Torah scholar, recaptures what he lost, and makes all of us, and of course, our Father in heaven, very, very proud. Have a wonderful day. And as always, my email address is rabbi@wolbachibit.com. I look forward to your questions and your comments and your feedback. And of course, have a wonderful, uplifting, meaningful, powerful, and productive festival of Shavuos upcoming. Again, the email address is rabbi@wolbe@gmail.com.